Hey guys, for today's project we're going to be making a powder puff, and so this is the style we're going to be making, although I'm going to be using different colors for today's tutorial. So we're going to be doing a satin and lace overlay on the back of our powder puff, and we're going to do the traditional kind of fluffy furry powder puff front with textured satin handle. So here comes the fun part, and that is choosing your fabric. Now you don't have to make it just like mine here. You can make it any way you want with any kind of fabric you want. I just chose the kind of fluffy fabric for my front because I just really like that sort of furry look. And then for the back, I chose these two fabrics because I am doing the overlay, which you don't have to. You could just do one fabric on the back if you want. It's up to you. So I just chose this kind of pretty soft aquamarine satiny kind of fabric, and then I chose a cream lace to go over top of that. And then for the handles, you could use the same fabric that you're using inside here, so I could use this, but I just came across this in the store, and it's just a cream kind of textured satin, and I thought that would be really pretty, handle. So that's what I'm going to be using for my handle. So first off, for the handles, I cut out two strips of 3" by 9". Now for our circles, or for the main part of our puff, you're going to need to decide what size you want it. I cut my circles out to be about 4 inches in diameter, just because I find that that makes a good size puff. And if you want it larger, then just do like 5 inches, or if you want it smaller, you could do even smaller. But this is 4" diameter, and so I cut out my front and my back, so for the lace and the satin. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be working with our handle first, so the first step is to take one of your 3 by 9 pieces, and we're going to go ahead and pinch one of the ends, just kind of give it a little crease there, and take your scissors, and we're going to do a diagonal cut. Okay, so we want our end to be kind of pointy, so I'm just going to cut right to the corner there. And then do that to the other piece. Next, grab your pins, and we're going to take our fabric with the pretty side in and fold that in half, so we'll be looking at the back side of the fabric. And once you have your fabric lined up fairly close, go ahead and start pinning all along the edge that we're going to be sewing. Both sides of my tie are pinned and ready to be sewn, so I'm going to grab my needle and thread, and again, if you're using a sewing machine, you'll be able to knock this project out in no time at all. So I'm just doing a basic stitch, and this is going to take a while, so I will fast forward, but we are going to be stitching up just all along where our pins are. So I'm closing up the point here, and then all along this straightaway, and then I'm going to leave this part open, so I'm just going to stop and tie off my thread here at this corner. This piece is done. I'm just finishing off my last tie here, so just to tie it off, I'm going to just come through the back, and just leave a little loop at the top there. Go back through and through the loop. And just to knock that off so it stays sturdy. Now all we need to do is flip these right side out. So it's going to be a tight little tube here, but just go ahead and gently turn it inside out. Now if your fabric is like mine and it's just very poofy like that and it doesn't want to lay flat, just go ahead and iron that. Just crease it how you want it to lay, and then just iron it flat. Next we're going to be working on the back side of our puff, this part here. So I'm going to take my 2 pieces here, my 2 rounds. So I've got the satin side, the pretty side up, and I've got my piece of lace again with the pretty side up, and we're just going to lay that lace over the satin and line them up, and go ahead and pin this all the way around because we're going to be sewing this too. Once you have your 2 pieces of fabric pinned together, you are ready to get going sewing. So just grab your needle and thread, make sure your knot is on the end of the thread, ready to go, and we're just going to stitch all around the perimeter. We've stitched all the way around and we are ready to tie off here. So to do that, all I do is pull through, leaving a little loop in the front there, come back around, just like you're doing a regular stitch, except that little loop there, you're just gonna slip right on through that. Just cut your thread, and we are ready to move on to the next step. Now that our pieces are prepped, we're ready to start putting together our powder puffs. So we're going to take our two circles here, and we're going to sandwich those together with the pretty sides inward. Now take one of your ribbons here, or one of your ties, and go ahead and fold that in thirds or so. It doesn't really matter how you fold it, you just want to have about an inch kind of hanging out there, because we're going to be leaving about a 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch sticking out of our end here. About a 1/2 inch. And just tuck that right inside with the little end sticking out there. Alright, now just hold that, grab one of your pins, and we're going to just pin that into place so it doesn't move on us. It's got a little more sticking out than I want, so I'm just going to shimmy it down there. Tuck in some of that fur and pin it. Okay, now for the other side, take your other tie, fold that one, and tuck it in. You want to make sure these are directly across from each other too. And if you need to, pick up the front piece again and just make sure that they're positioned right in there, and go ahead and pin that other side. Alright, now we're ready to get sewing. So same thing, we're just going to do a basic stitch, so make sure you have your needle and thread ready. And I'm going to start my stitch right on this side so I can go ahead and lock one of those ties down right now. So I'm stitched most of the way around here, and I just left our little 2-inch gap there so we can flip it inside out and add our stuffing. But first I'm just going to go ahead and finish off our thread and just go ahead and tie that off. Now I just need to flip it inside out, and be careful at this point because you don't want to tear any of your stitching, and especially if you're working with really fluffy fur. It's going to be really fluffy, it might be a little bit tight, so just go ahead and do it really slowly. There's our ties. Just push out all of the ends, or right where you've stitched it together, just push that all out. Now the next step is to go ahead and stuff our puff. Stuff our puff. Okay, we'll go ahead and get that in there. So now we're going to close off this gap here with a slip stitch. So all you do is slip into one of your pieces of fabric, and you just go back and forth, top to bottom, and it'll kind of close off that gap without leaving a weird kind of pinched line. Alright, so can you see there we just have a little tiny spot left to close up, but we're almost done. And then just go ahead and tie off any other loose pieces of thread you may have. And we are just about done. All that's left is just to kind of puff up the edges. I'm going to trim up my fur a little bit because that's what I did on this one. So you can see this one is a little bit fluffier. I just gave this one a little bit of a haircut, kind of trimmed it down a bit. And then just go ahead and do a basic little knot on top here. Just kind of loosely because you want to be able to slip your hand in there. And there we go. Just just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a trim. And of course this is optional if you don't have, you know, if the fur that you're using isn't quite as long as this wouldn't be necessary. Our powder puff is all done. So you have different color combinations to work with, and like I said, you can use really whatever fabric you want, and you don't have to go through, you know, doing the layered back or anything like that. You could just use, you know, just the kind of fuzzy fabric all the way around and just do, you know, slap 2 pieces of those together and do 1 stitch around and add a ribbon. You don't even have to go through the sewing of the, you know, of the handles there or of the little ties. You can just use a basic ribbon and tie that in a little bow and you're done. So there's all kinds of different options out there. There's all different ways to make these. This is just my personal way that I kind of like to. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and of course, since this is a powder puff, we are going to be making our shimmering body dust next. And of course, we're going to need a little box, a little decorative box to keep it in, or a jar. So we have a couple of other projects on the horizon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.